Make us bigger. There you go.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to the Oddcast podcast.
Off the record.
I'm Blackie.
I'm Erica.
So good to be back. Missed last week. We took a little vacation for my birthday. Erica, you want to tell them a little about it?
We were going to spend some time around LBL. We ended up having some things happen. So some plans changed. Thankfully, I was off of work, so that helped. But we went to Kentucky near LBL, and we were able to drive around LBL a little. And it, not having been there, either of us not having been there before,
No idea where to go.
it was pretty scattered. And a lot of the businesses that we had seen, everything was spaced apart pretty good. But we are looking forward to the day where we do camp out there. I don't know when that will be, but it was a very pretty area. And we did go to the visitor center there, and it was cute. They had a nice setup there.
We were actually in New Concord, Kentucky.
Well, where we ended up staying, and we did go to a cemetery around LBL. That was cool. But we stayed in, it was called New Concord, Kentucky. And it was just a beautiful drive from us, and we ended up leaving Murfreesboro, so Middle Tennessee, and heading to New Concord, Kentucky, which isn't very far over the Kentucky line. And we stayed at a cabin there, and it was a great experience. It was very peaceful.
Definitely a place where you can get to be one with nature.
Mm-hmm.
The cabin, like the back porch, pretty much overlooked the Kentucky River. So you could see from the back porch out. I know one day she did yoga from, like, when you walk down from the back porch, you walk down some steps to a giant bluff, and you could go down, probably another 5-6 feet. And there was a bigger rock that overhung the river.
Mm-hmm.
And she did yoga out there one day. And I'm sure that was really,
it was awesome. It was definitely some of the best yoga experience I've ever had. And it was very peaceful. It was actually at the end of a national park and a former Civil War site.
Yeah, I can't remember Fort
Hyman.
Fort Hyman.
So it was awesome. But one of my favorite parts, there's a cat on the property, and she was so sweet.
Yeah, she didn't leave the property either. She's not an indoor cat. She's an outdoor cat. And she never left the property. They had a little extra building out back that had like a little cat tower, little cat house, and then an automatic feeder. So she was getting fed every day. And she was just a loving little cat. And she was looking out. She would sit there on the porch and look out everywhere, just keeping track of, looked like she was making sure we were safe.
Yeah, all her senses were going, you could tell.
But I got to play with my night vision and look out in the woods and everything. And didn't really see anything. We heard some stuff, but it's also that time of the year where, things are falling from the trees. And so there was a time something come up the trail and the cat alerted me to it. She was inside. I think it was just a possum, but it was pretty cool. It was fun.
So I just want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you to our moderators. I see that Gary's here and Wendell's here. But we just wanted to say hi to everybody.
Who's y'all here? Val, Denise,
Bobby Ounce,
Bobby, Gary, Wendell. What else we got here? Oh, Blackie's here. Mac McManus.
Yep. Denise. I'm not sure. I think Chad said that. And
anybody watch Woodwalkers today? Got to see Dr. Robinson. He's always a great guest. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
Hey, Gene.
He's always a great guest. He's been on our show a couple of times about medical stuff, and it was nice for him to talk about his experiences in the paranormal. And we got to meet him in person down in New Orleans, another vacation she had planned, and it was just him and his wife, and it was a blast hanging out with him. And he's so knowledgeable about everything. And So I hope you all enjoyed that. That was a good show with woodwalkers today.
Yeah, I was on the roof when that show was on.
I was cutting grass and then trying to listen to as much as I could, and then I had to prepare for our show. So so she volunteered to go up on the roof and seal part of it.
Yeah.
She's a trooper, man. I'm telling you. Telling you.
We got Catherine here.
Hi,
Hey,
Catherine.
All right. Hi, Misty.
Hi, Misty.
Yeah.
Well,
Good show, Misty.
Today's show is a little bit different. We kind of wanted to have a little bit of fun with it, but there is some seriousness to it as well. We titled it Real Conspiracies?
Prophecy.
Real Prophecies. See, I came up with the title and can't even remember it. Yeah. But, you know, it takes me to a point where, have you ever watched a movie and later down the road, you saw something happen in real life and said, man, I saw something like that happen in a movie. You know, I love movies. I watch as many movies as I can. She's not much of a movie watcher. She's kind of, and I'll tell you a little story is I'm a huge Star Wars fan. The original 6. Anyway. So when we met, I had Star Wars stuff all over my condo. I had a fat head, which is a giant poster that sticks to your wall of a Death Star. I had all this Star Wars stuff. So I said, well, you know, if we're going to date, you have to watch Star Wars. You know, you have to. So the first time was a Friday, and I'd put Star Wars, the first one, episode 4, and you know, started at the beginning, and within about 5 minutes, I could hear her snoring. So I kind of contemplated the relationship, but I figured
Stop.
I kind of figured I'd give her another chance. So the next week she actually watched it, and then we started episode 5, and she fell asleep. And then I realized that Star Wars wasn't for her, but she always bought me Star Wars stuff, and we have it now. I have all my stuff up in our shed, which is going to be our studio here one of these days. So Misty, and that's okay. That's your opinion. That's fine. It's
I also have to say, this was when I realized that after a full week of work, I can't watch a movie on a Friday night. So Friday was my last day to work of the week back then.
I was working 10-hour days, so I don't even want to hear that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you know, something happened recently that got me started back into the movie, looking at similarities between things that have happened in movies and modern day things that are going on now. The biggest one I'll talk about last, but you know, we want to have fun with this. So if you guys have any movies that you have similarities in, or things that you've seen, maybe have predicted the future, you know, feel free to share those with us. But I'm gonna start off with one that I've seen a few times, and it's one that's really, really tough to watch. Billy, I'm telling you what.
Hey, Billy.
Don't push my buttons, brother.
Also, hey, Virax.
Hey,
and
Virax.
we got Sharon.
Good. But the movie Idiocracy. Now, if you haven't seen it, it's a tough watch. She's tried to watch it, and again, she's not a movie person, but it's really kind of a dumb movie, but you have to look at it in a certain way. And the way you look at it is compare it to now. With a lot of the things that go on with the movie, you're just like, this is so stupid. At the time, you would be like, this stuff will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way this could happen. People will never be like this. And it's like one of the things is corporate sponsored everything in the movie. So everything has a corporate sponsor. Yeah. Well, whatever, Gary. Fine. Yank your man card then. Anyway, you know, corporate sponsors on everything, and you're starting to see that now. You know, we know NASCAR has sponsorships on everything. We know football starting to get that way. Baseball starting to get that way. Hockey starting. All the sports are starting to have sponsors on their uniforms. If you look at, you know, commercials on television, and how many of these companies own all these other companies, you know, what are some of the big ones? Who owns Imes? Procter Gamble. Look at all that they own. And the fact that athletes get paid so much money, it's easier to get corporate sponsors to sponsor these players and these teams. and all you have to do is put their name on your jersey. So that's one of the things. Also from that movie was the prevalence of junk food. And junk food's everywhere. We've done an episode on food and what's good and what's bad, and they really seem to push the junk food. I know one of the new things about I think welfare or EBT is cutting out, or the SNAP program is they're cutting out junk food and colas and stuff like that because it's not healthy. Well, that's kind of where we've gotten as a society is we're, a lot of us aren't really healthy, and it's because they push the junk food thing, and that creates the declining health. And we talked about that in an episode as well. Or what's the word I'm looking for? Where we're not birthing as much. We're not population decline, but there's all kinds of other things in that movie that you will see and you'll think they're so idiotic. And then you realize that it's actually kind of going on right now. Did that predict the future? Maybe somebody just knew that mankind was dumbing itself down. And you can see that every day. I unfortunately watch a lot of protests. I watch a lot of congressional hearings because that relates to some of the things I do for the show and things that I can, tell her, hey, did you see this happen today? And by the way, while we're talking, I don't know if anybody saw, but there was another big church shooting today. I can't remember exactly where it was, but, a shooter is apparently dead, but caught the church on fire. And it seems to be happening a lot lately. It was a Mormon church, I believe. But that kind of stuff seems. There was also shooting last night at a boat dock. I feel those people, and our thoughts and prayers go out to them. So Idiocracy. Michigan, yeah, Bobby. Right.
Oh, what about that movie? I don't think it's on the list. You were just talking about. I think it was a kids movie, and they were
Wall-E.
That's it.
It's on my list.
Okay.
So another one that I definitely think predicted a lot of things that are going on in the future was a 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, I've seen bits and pieces when it came out. Obviously, I was 1 year old when it came out in 1968. I kind of caught it a few times, but for a kid that was into action movies, it was very boring. But looking back at it and having watched scenes from it, learning that the ship was controlled by AI. Now, they didn't have AI in 1968, but learning that the ship was controlled by AI, that it rebelled against humanity. It was rebelling against the people on the ship or the person on the ship. Seems to be a lot of that stuff kind of going on today, how we've relied, especially now, in AI. We're all using AI to create our thumbnails for these shows, or we're using AI to research things. I use AI for that. And now they're creating the robots. Again, that's another show and other shows that I've been on. We've discussed that. And I see that Patrick is in here. Patrick, brother, thank you. This was a gift from Patrick. It's a elk horn, and I love it. I wear it all the time. Thank you very much, brother. And the knife was awesome as well. Mm-hmm. Thank you. But also the parallels with a lot, 2001 parallels with a lot that's going on as far as new technology that's coming out. In 1968, how would they have known what we were going to have in 2025? Mm-hmm. We'll say in the 2000s. It's kind of hard to predict that stuff. So was that already something being created, and how far along had they gotten at that time period? The first manned flight was, space flight happened then, or did it? Another show. The movie Blade Runner came out in 1982. It's again another AI movie, humanoid robotics type things, which they seem to really be working on now. McMack says the late great Planet Earth in the late 70s and 80s. Okay, I haven't seen that one yet.
Has anybody else seen the late, Planet Earth? I guess it's Planet Earth from the late 70s, early 80s.
But the movie Blade Runner, also one of the ways they could tell that the difference between humans and robots were the responses to emotions. So, robots don't have emotions, and they don't have, as of right now, they don't have the ability to show emotions. Maybe they do. I don't know. But that was the way they did that in the movie. And again, I've explained many times how what you see robots doing now, understand that there are robots that the government has created that are 1,000 times better than the robots we see, just like cable television back in the day and how it's progressed, or the internet. So remember that. The movie Minority Report came out in 2002 with Tom Cruise. Pretty wild movie, but it relied on, I don't know what's going on back there. It relied on facial recognition, which is huge now. They called that pre-crime. Personalized online advertising, which we all have talked about before. Jerry, how you doing? That we've all talked about before with, your Facebook or Instagram, where you might be sitting here talking to your spouse or your friends about a certain thing you might want to buy, or something you have to go get, or just a certain product. And next thing you know, it's an ad on your Facebook. It's an ad on your Instagram. What I tell people is, if you don't want the government to know anything about you, throw this away, throw your computer away, throw your television away, because there are chips and everything, and they are definitely listening to you. But that's what Minority Report kind of had to do pre-crime. So they would basically have a computer system, or actually they used, I don't know what they called the women. They were some kind of seers that they could see the future, and they ended up showing that actually didn't work. But that would, tell you what crime you were going to commit that you didn't even know you were going to commit. So
real quick, we got Leanne
Leanne.
and dog.
Oh, hey dog.
Gosh, Burby's here.
Hi,
hey
Burb.
Burby. And then we've got Leonard.
Hi, Lenny.
And let's see. Also, I believe it was Max said that it was an Orson
You can
Welles
star those
movie.
too.
Yeah.
She can't find
that Planet Earth. That it
Oh,
was
an Orson Welles movie?
Welles book and movie.
Okay.
So
Wait, there's one. Go back to Gary Spikes. Click on that right there.
And Terry. Hey Terry.
Planet of the Apes was showing about Bigfoot. Could be, Gary. I think that's a movie we kind of need to take into consideration as well, as that's like an alternate universe there. Which is something I wholeheartedly believe in, dimensions and stuff like that. But Planet of the Apes could be. That's a lot of Bigfoot though. Maybe they were maybe they sat around and talked about humans as cryptids. I don't know. Then we look at the Truman Show. And if you haven't seen the Truman Show, it stars Jim Carrey, who is still kind of a funny guy, but he's more of a philosophical guy now. And I can relate to a lot of the things he talks about. But the Truman Show was about a gentleman that was being basically 24/7 filmed his whole life, and it was put on TV without his knowledge. So basically that introduced your shows like Survivor, Big Brother, Naked and Afraid, where the cameras are on you 24/7. So people learn everything about you, what kind of person you are, what kind of things you like to do. And I know that there's shows like, I laugh, there's a show like called The Masked Singer, and how people would actually sit around and try to discuss who this person is singing, and people would get so into that. And it's just a TV show. And there was a saying, and if anybody in chat knows it, it's an old, and I'm not sure who said it. It might have been an old Roman, about keep masses entertained. Oh, and I'll find it.
Oh.
Keep the masses entertained, or with circuses and sporting events, and you can do anything you want. But so the Truman Show is kind of what a lot of us going on anyway. We talked about facial recognition. When you go out in the world and you're walking down a street, England's a big one right now. There's facial recognition everywhere. They see everything.
Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt.
There you go. Read it out loud because you're kind of quiet.
Oh, okay. The quote was, "Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt."
So if you look at sporting events and you look at movies and you look at all these different things that are going on, it's things to keep you occupied from what's actually happening in your world. The fact that a lot of people listen to actors and actresses and sports stars to get their how I should live my life thing is a little silly, but that's their job. You know, they're actors, they're actresses. You know, it's funny to watch some of these movies where you know, a guy's toting 4 and 5 guns, he's shooting everybody, and then in the real world, he's against guns. You know, he's not living up to, you know, he's acting. But when you do that, yeah, podcasts, sure. That's right. That's a good point, Billy. That's occupying the masses, you know, all these podcasts.
Here's another one. It looks like it's a George Orwell quote.
Oh, that's another movie I have not seen yet.
1984. I have not either. Football, beer, and above all gambling filled up the horizon of their minds. To keep them in control was not difficult.
The problem they're having nowadays, in my opinion, is everybody is starting to wake up. There are people opening their minds a little bit more. And they're, you know, also when you reference things from the Bible, you're starting to see it happen. I hear this from multiple people. My neighbor tells me all the time, you know, he's reading Bible quotes to me, and I'm like, this is amazing. You know, the show I was on with Mark Green, David Hughes, and Sherry Renault, you know, they quoted a lot of things, and I'm baffled by that. It relates so much to what's going on in the world today. Good evening, Gene. Okay. So that was the Truman Show, and it is a good show. When he realizes that he's being filmed 24/7.
Look what Bobby put. I think she had a great.
Bobby Younts said, I got rid of cable a long time ago. Can't get regular TV either. Waste of time. Mm-hmm. You are absolutely correct, Bobby.
We agree with you.
We moved here, and you know, whenever you move into a new home, you get a flood of mail with, internet providers, TV or cable providers, all these different things. We ended up just getting internet so we could have our computers and our phone, and we watch nothing but YouTube.
Yeah, hang out with our awesome people like y'all.
Gene, that's my number one right there, hon. That's my number one. They live. She says, I can't remember the movie that Roddy Piper was in. Yep, mixed to something. Right. I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. That movie right there is something I think is truly going on in the world today. A lot of, why can I never remember that term?
Which one?
Oh, it's something's going on and you can't see it, but it's there.
Not prediction.
No, not prediction. Like riding your album backwards.
Oh,
I forget what that's called.
Me too.
But anyway, I think a lot of that's going
on.
Subliminal messaging. Okay. You know, the actual CIA used that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and probably still to this day, where they insert things into ads or shows that your mind picks up on. You might not see it, and it sort of molds you a certain way. And that's why we really avoid television and mainstream media, because it just the things you hear, you're like, you are missing on so much that's going on in the world, and you're feeding us the same shite every single day. You're obviously creating a narrative that we're supposed to follow. And go ahead.
It's entertaining when we go and we stay in a hotel, because then we have cable and we can see the local news, and you see that Operation Mockingbird. You see some stories because you're in a different area from where you live, but you also we see, in our opinion, what we're not missing out on.
You know, when you see drug ads every fourth, commercial break, and it's just over and over, Sky Rizzy, and I'm like, what's with all the drug ads? I know that this administration RFK Jr. is trying to possibly get rid of these drug ads. Because to me, it really doesn't do you any good for these drug ads, because usually the side effects outnumber the positive things for you. Anytime a side effect is possible death, I'm kind of willing to take the chance. It's like, okay, maybe I don't want to die right now from a medicine. But anyway.
Here, Gene put, I guess, Men in Black that struck me as too real.
That aliens could really be living amongst us. Absolutely. And it might not be the type of aliens you see in the movie, where it's somebody that's, I know if you go in the alien route, there's the Nordics, there's the reptilians, there's all those different types of aliens. We could also look at the sea and look at octopi, all the different sea life that we really can't, there's so much, like when a tsunami happens, all the sea life washes up on shore that we've never seen before. That could be, they're saying now that if there are aliens, they're probably here and they live under the ocean.
We have Milkman here. We also have Standing Stone 1776. That's a very interesting name.
I like that.
I like that.
Anything with 1776 is all right in my book.
That's very interesting.
So anyway, let's jump to the next one. Network. Network came out in 1976. And the reason I give you the dates is, if you want to check out the movie, that's cool. But it's also, when we talk about it, you kind of see that this was foreshadowed. So like Network, it's sensationalized. It's like the media is today, how they push a narrative and push a narrative. She mentioned Project Mockingbird. If you don't know what it is, research it. You've seen it. It happens every day. If you flip from, I won't say all the major news broadcasters, we'll say that so I don't get in any kind of trouble. And they all say the exact same thing. Sometimes it's word for word. And that's what Project Mockingbird was. Now, it said when we first did our first, might have been our first or second show on conspiracy theories, I mentioned Project Mockingbird. And we talked about how, and one of these days we'll have videos we'll put up and everything. And we just don't really have that kind of time to sit down behind a computer and do that. But, there's plenty on YouTube about Project Mockingbird. And you'll see where they take like 30, 40 stations, news stations, and have the people standing there, and they're all saying, the broadcasters, and they're all saying the exact same thing word for word. And they're all in different states. So it's amazing to see that happen. But that's the kind of stuff that goes on in the news. And in 1976, the movie Network kind of predicted that stuff happening. I know a lot of older people said, what happened to guys like Walter Cronkite and stuff like that told the news. That, we don't know if they were really telling the news, but it seemed to be more real than every news station repeating the same thing over and over. And the movie Network also is like predicted the rise of news as entertainment. So, if you look at the differences between even the major cable news, I can say them. I believe I can say them all, but MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, Fox, all of them, they're all trying to get their point across, what they believe. And that's why
narrative.
And that's why I always try to watch bits of everything. And hold on, I have a stink bug on my computer. Okay, now I have a stink bug there, wherever it went. Anyway, it's gone. But they're always trying to get their narrative across. So you could be right wing, left wing, and I'm not going to get into the politics, but that's how they want you to go. Whatever they want you to do, that's how they'll broadcast it. And you choose to watch what you want to watch. Again, we take ours from multiple online sites to get our news. 1440 is one of them, Redacted. All of these have independent journalists, and you can watch them all and pull off, okay, well, they're all talking the same thing. Let me research this. What's real? Sometimes go to other countries' news as well. But that's Network. Oh, yeah. And profit over truth was another thing, what you see with your news agencies. The more sensational of a story they make, or the way they talk about it, the more people watch, the more profit they make. So, oops.
Here, real quick. I got a few things to catch up on chat, but we got William here. Hey, William.
Great show today, William.
Yes, and speaking of that, he said that he on his podcast this week, he said I talk about drug ads. So,
well, there you go, everybody. I'll plug his show again, The Blues Doctor. We watch it. It's a good show, very informative,
very good,
and we love you. You're awesome.
We do. There were some other things. So we've got Misty. Certain colors, tones, music, etc., is used most times for a reason. It all makes the messaging work because our mind is trained to associate certain things certain ways. And I have a lot of examples of that I'll go over in a future show. But in college, I studied marketing, and that wasn't my field of study, but I had to take marketing classes, and I learned a lot from that, and it all made sense. It makes sense now after you're told that. But to go along with that, Gene said Disney puts them in the kids' movies like they are a hired cartoon porn artist to do a lot of the cartoon. Little Mermaid, Lion King, lots of stuff like that. So Pyro, and hey Pyro said backward masking is the album thing, and then subliminal messages are the rapid pictures and word placement.
My brain goes blank periodically. I think too fast, and then thank you.
So when I first heard of that, Gene, I was like, no way. And then I saw it, and you can look it up. I mean, that was over 20 years ago that I had heard about it, but now it would be so easy to look up, and they would give you examples, and your mind will be blown if you don't know these things already.
I just watched one from Ants, and it was talking about, this is a kid's movie, and it was, they're all these I think, were they grasshoppers, whatever, they're sitting in a bar, and the leader of the grasshoppers says, one ant can rise. And they were all like, oh, only one ant. So he throws a bean at him. And did that hurt? No, that one ant didn't hurt. And he goes, well, how about two ants? And he said, that didn't hurt. And then he opens up this thing, and they get just bombarded with all these seeds and buried. And he said, that's how ants affect you. Talking about humans. One person rises, it's no big deal. Two people rise, it's no big deal. But if everybody rises, it's a revolution. And this isn't a kid's movie. This movie is for kids. So, is that the beginning of the brainwashing? I mean, it's true if we rise, but.
Okay, I'm going to be moving away from the signs, so you'll see me throughout the show adjusting. But okay, so back to what Mac was talking about, Planet Earth. So it was from 1970. That movie film depicts the end of the world through literal interpretations of biblical prophecies. That to me sounds cool. I would like to watch that.
Yeah, I'd have to check that out. I'm going to write that down right now.
And hey to Greg House. Welcome. Great show today.
Yep. Woodwalkers, good stuff as always. Do you have a pen available? Okay, I got one. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to write that movie down. The late, great Planet Earth. Thank you very much for that, Mac.
Yep, thank you.
And that came out in 70. Okay. Yeah, there's older movies that predict things or talk about stuff like that. I love those because it's, some of the movies we can talk about that I have on a list, and I'll get to here in a minute, but let's get back to the list I have in front of my face here, or I'll forget those too. There was a movie that came out in 2013 called Her. Now, I never watched it. I think I might have caught a trailer for it at one time, but it has Joaquin Phoenix, and it envisions a world where artificial intelligence becomes a romantic partner. Now, has that happened yet? Well, we know that people are in love with, animals. I don't want to get too gross, but people are in love. There's people that marry cars. There's people that, there's a lot of oddity out there. So the fact that somebody could marry an artificial intelligence, I know that there are apps that you can have an artificial friend that you can have a verbal relationship with, and that's crazy. It's making us less social. That's the best way to put it.
Oh yeah.
Because if you can sit around the house and talk to this, some artificial
Mhm.
intelligence, well, that's just us. Hi, wave, say wave, wave. Let's see what waves. There we go. And you're talking to you're talking to a computer, and the computer is telling you, "I love you." And people that are lonely, they'll dig that. Instead of getting out to meet people, they'll sit around their
Mhm.
house and have these kinds of conversations with their phone or their computer.
Mhm.
And someday there will be robots and I believe they're working on them now, that will resemble people, and people will have relationships. Now, I'm not gonna say they're gonna be like husband and wife sexual relationship type things, but maybe they will. Who knows? But
I told you to make that sandwich.
yeah, that's a joke. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh.
I said something yesterday that got
Oh,
cracking up.
okay, yeah.
Anyway, but that's something we really have to worry about is again AI and what they're creating with AI, and it's making people um, less giving them less ability to look for things on their own, or meet somebody, or and I know you people that are here, most of us, this is our family that we're in chat.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Scary.
yeah. That's why we try to watch as many shows as we can. We try to get in chat as much as we can and still live our life here. But when we have the chance to get together with y'all, we love that. And your family. But as for that, I keep my circle really small as far as what we do around here in our area, because I've had friends that have completely. Okay, Wendell says, Chad, they do have sex bots.
Ugh.
So
Here, real quick, what Jean says.
Gene, you want to go ahead and
Does
read it?
anyone remember the movie? I think it was called War, with that kid from Ferris Bueller movie, and he would play games
Oh,
with
yeah.
a computer.
It was global thermo. Oh, now I can't remember it. But no, I've seen it where he plays global thermonuclear war. I know that'll pop up here in the chat. Somebody will tell us what it is. But
And
it
we got
stars Matthew Broderick, and I cannot remember the girl's name. Okay, there's Mark. Mark says, yes, China and Japan working on robot sex partners. What was the name of that movie? War Games. Thank you, Wendell. Good job. So yes, War Games is another one where the whole thing is a computer simulation, but the military thinks it's an actual war game that's going on, and ended up being all simulation. Again, AI. That's something we have to worry about, and maybe a lot of these movies were predicting that kind of stuff happening. One of the scenes from Her, again, I haven't seen it, so I'm reading this, is a standout scene shows Theodore, which is played by Joaquin Phoenix, walking through a city where nearly everyone is absorbed in their devices, eerily similar to today's smartphone addiction. We've gone out a few times in public. I mean, we go out quite a few times in public. Well, we'll go to the bigger towns near us, and she'll just look at me and she just says, something is just weird about this. It doesn't feel right. And I call it, like, if you've ever played video games, there's things called NPCs, and they're called non-playable characters. So like if you've played a video game and there's people in the video game, but they're nobody, they're just AI simulated people. That's what we call these people, NPCs. And that's what they seem like. They're either in their phones, staring at their phones, not paying attention. How many times have you seen somebody run into a pole or trip on a curb or trip on a sidewalk because their nose is in their phone? I've seen it, scenes from New York City where so many people are looking at their phones. And it's just, we've gotten to that point. We've become less social. Crime's gotten worse, because, reality isn't what it seems when you stare at a phone. When people play Grand Theft Auto and they think they can go, beat the crap out of a person and steal their car, but yet not really know the consequences. That's kind of, what we need to worry about. What's this window? At least the computer figured out no one wants to win that war. Yeah.
No one wins that war.
Yeah.
What was it? I just had it up, but wasn't that Tron?
Tron, no, Tron was the game where they just, or the movie where they raced red and blue. And I'm not sure, you know what, I'm sure Tron had some implications in it as far as things they were putting out. I don't remember it. I know Tron first came out when I was a kid, and then Medflight first came out when I was a kid, and now they've re-released a new Tron. I haven't seen that one yet. Again, I haven't seen all of these movies, and they're releasing movies every day with what I call hints of possible things that are going on or happening, and they throw it right in our face. And a lot of people just take it, they just watch the movie. That's all it's about. Then there's people like me with a conspiracy mind that's like, man, they just showed that to us right in our face, and we know it's happening, you know? So that's kind of why I wanted to see these, talk about these movies, and maybe they were throwing it in our face back then. People live virtual lives instead of real lives. Absolutely, Sharon. Absolutely.
It's a shame, Sharon. I see TVs and I do not like any of the reality type, whatever you want to call them, shows. And, people in luxury items and their life is better than everyone else's. And I think it's a bunch of garbage. And I think that they're setting unrealistic expectations for a normal life. Yes, you can be successful, and yes, you can have very nice things, but it takes work. And I think that they're making it so much more difficult. And again, making these crazy, unbelievable expectations. And that's just not the way that life really is. And also, Max said, you've taken the humanity out of hurting others.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with that.
Absolutely.
And Chad has examples of that. But, it's not all. You need to be able to talk to people. You need to be able to, there's so much we could say about that, but it's not all digital communication. We actually need to talk to people. And matter of fact, yesterday I was in a store and I heard a mom tell her son, you need to go ask them for help. And I'm like, good for her, because he just seemed like that. And she's like, just go do it. I'm like, and it seems vague, but it was very great advice. It was like, just go do it. I wish people would have talked to me like that way at a younger age. And it's a very rare thing, like, because I have anxiety. And so there are certain things that I know once I've done it, I'm like, man, I should have done that before. Like, it's over now, whatever. So I know what it's like to hesitate. But I was like, man, that's awesome. She's like, go do it. And he is in that age where it would have been so easy for him to just avoid it. And like, maybe I'll text somebody, but I don't, I know that's a weird example.
We both talk about, how we were when we were younger. I was probably, besides her, I was probably the most shyest person you wouldn't believe now that I was shy. But when I had to sell raffle tickets for baseball, I bought my own raffle tickets because I didn't want to go door to door. I was so shy, be honest, I didn't date till I was 18 because I was afraid to talk to people. I was that shy. So I got to a point in life where I realized that being shy wasn't going to get me anywhere. So now I'm not shy at all. So, or I wouldn't be doing this. So same with her. She was a little shy thing.
Oh, so shy. Before I met Chad, oh my gosh.
I taught her how to stand up for herself.
Yeah.
I didn't teach her. I showed her that she should stand up for herself.
Yeah, I still bite my tongue a lot, but
yeah, well, we're getting worse at that though. I think we're yeah. Anyway, so let's get on to the movie thing. We're almost done with just some of these movies, and then I'm going to go into some other stuff. But RoboCop was a movie that I loved growing up as a kid. It came out in '87, so as a teenager. The movie itself, they've re-released it, I forget, a few years back or whatever. But the original RoboCop brought us autonomous robots and AI policing, such as drones, surveillance systems, facial recognition. And a lot of that does mirror what is being used today. See, the thing about drones can fly so high up in the air. And I watch a gentleman called Monkey Works. He is a former Air Force, not sure of his exact title, but he had to do with Air Force intelligence, I believe. And he'll tell you, he's got a flight program that he'll tell you what all these planes are doing up in the sky. And he'll say, yeah, there's a Q9 drone 14,000 feet up in the air. And these things, these certain planes that are flying up that just circle. And he goes, they can pick up something the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away or something like that. So, they're spying on you or have the ability to spy on you without you knowing it. And that works that way with the drones nowadays. Before we ever go in to fight somebody, or, and I'll bring up the drug cartels, we fly these drones over top. It used to be helicopters. Now it's drones. And they can fly these drones over top and see everything that's going on. And they can do it with satellites in space as well. So this movie's kind of predicted that would be the future of, because back in what year did I put for that movie? 1987. These really didn't exist. Excuse me. Look how far drones have moved, have gotten better in the last 10 years. Now we launch rockets from them. We do all kinds of things with drones. So if the thing that's scary to think about is that if the people ever want to rise up against the government, they have those things going for them. You look at what is happening over in Ukraine and Russia war. Both sides are using drones, and they're using the basic drones that you can buy at a store, and they're equipping them with explosives and flying them into tents and or foxholes and stuff like that. So it's, it's crazy how far we've come into that technology. But a lot of these movies talked about it before we did that. Or did we? Maybe in 1987 we had that. They just didn't talk about it. Again, remember, the government has 10 times better stuff than we have. I'll say 100 times better stuff. So a lot of these movies, somebody probably knew about it to a point, Anyway, that was RoboCop. Good movie. There's like 10 of them, I think. I don't know. Sometimes what do they call them? Sometimes the next movie's better. Sequels are better, but that's not a case.
What about, Denise said Twilight Zone?
Well, Twilight Zone, I don't know if it predicts the future but you can get a lot of scenarios of futuristic things that could happen. That's for sure. I mean, it's a science fiction show and science fiction to me was something where authors really opened their mind to concepts. And I think back then, when did that come out? In 50s and 60s?
Oh, goodness.
70s. But I love the Twilight Zone because some of the things they come up with, the aliens and just stuff like that was so overboard for that time. And now and Outer Limits as well. I see that they were kind of the same style show. Jeff's phone died. Well, we're glad you're back, Jeff. But that's kind of, that's what Twilight Zone, it forces us to use our imaginations as well, which I highly, highly suggest you use your imagination. Use your imagination and then question your imagination. What I mean by that is, when I say question everything, why did I have that dream? Why did I think something like that could happen? Those are things that I question to myself. And that's probably why I can't sleep a lot, is because I'm questioning myself, I guess. Anyway, let's get on before I confuse myself even more. The Matrix, one of my favorite movies. Matrix 1 is my favorite, one of my favorites. We're talking about living in a computer simulation. I've seen actual videos of birds stop flying in the air, airplanes. Now, there's sometimes you can explain it, why things look like they're frozen in the air, and there's sometimes you can't explain it. But the Matrix brought that in me, the red pill and the blue pill. Do you want to live your life like you do every day, or do you really want to know what is going on in the world? Well, I think her and I pretty much red pilled ourselves And when you do that, you start asking more questions. And that's when you start going down rabbit holes and seeing what's really going on in the world. Stuff they don't want you to know, people who were silenced for telling the truth, anybody associated with the Clinton Foundation, those types of people. It's but you question everything. And anyway, what did I just see up there?
The Fifth Element. Hey, Pine Knot's here.
Hey, Pine Knot, look what Milkman put. Milkman knows who Demon Jones is. Nice, Jeffrey.
That's right.
That's right. We've been to a couple Demon Jones shows, I think. Anyway, next on my list is Wall-E. Wall-E is another one of those Disney movies. If you haven't seen Wall-E, even though it's a Disney movie, because most Disney movies, even if they're made for kids, aren't made for kids. If you look at the actual undertone of the movie. And Wall-E is about a little cleanup droid that was left on Earth to clean up after we pretty much destroyed humanity and decided we were going to move to outer space to live on giant spaceships that have, way to grow food and everything else. But humanity has also gotten fat and lazy, and they live in chairs. Their thumbs have adapted so they can text better, which I've always said that people's thumbs are going to start changing over the years. So it's easier, probably get skinnier so they can text faster, or not have to hit, like me, the wrong buttons when I'm texting and send really crazy words that make no sense. But it shows you what life could possibly be like in the future. Sedentary lifestyles, sitting around doing nothing, getting obese, health problems because nobody's willing to take care of themselves. Nobody exercises. We're fed junk food. We're fed medicine that makes things worse. And that's what I got. Now, you might watch these movies and not get the things that I got, but that was something I used to tell her was Wall-E. You've got to see Wall-E. It's a cute little love story with two robots, but there is so much in there that, like ants, that has so many different meanings to it. And that's what's Gene say here?
Lots of kids' movies have changed. Example, there's a movie on dinosaurs are the ones that live in a house, plant gardens, and the humans are feral.
That's, it. I don't know why they do that. I guess it's just for creativity, but is there an underlying thing they're trying to say? Oh, I do have another movie here, and I liked this movie. And we did a show on depopulation a couple weeks back. And this movie is called Children of Men. It stars Clive Owen. I'm not sure. I didn't know the other. Oh, Julianne Moore's in it. Okay. And it came out in 2006. And basically what it's about are global infertility, which is something that is going on right now. We gave some statistics on on a show about that. We're still in a population increase, but that is set to start decreasing in around 2050 because there are so many people not fertile enough to be able to have children. There are a lot of people that are avoiding having children. And why bring my kids into this world when this is the world they're going to be living in? And I get it. I truly get it. I mean, unless you can move out to the middle of nowhere and raise your kids on your own and raise your kids, homeschool them, it's really rough to do that in a city. It's really tough to go downtown and keep your kids safe. And I'm not trying to be, fearmonger with that, but it's absolutely true. If you watch independent media, you see so much more that's going on. You'll see so much more good as well because there's no narrative to be met.
There you go.
The movie that made me think the hardest is the Jurassic Parks, and now they are bringing back so-called mammoths. Gene, that is a perfect example. Absolutely.
And dire wolves.
Dire wolves, which they've already created a dire wolf. And I know Misty said on one of the episodes where we talked about it that she'd like to have a dire wolf. Well, the fact that I finally saw what a dire wolf size is compared to a normal wolf made me say, ain't no way in hell. I mean, it's bigger than me, and I'm only 5'9", and it's pretty much stands on its back on it's standing on all fours, it's taller than me. So they're playing God, and it won't end well. Agreed, Jeffrey. Agreed. But with the children of men, it also talks about the declining birth rates in developed countries such as the United States, England, and I want to say something real quick about that. With what's going on in England, what you're seeing happen to England right now is something we need to be very careful of here in the United States. We've kind of gotten lucky with, I think, and some people are going to disagree with me, with regime change. But if you look at England right now and the fact that you can't post on social media without possibly facing consequences. And I'm not talking, I'm just saying that here in the United States, we have the First Amendment. But with the First Amendment, that's in the court of law, meaning that First Amendment goes for your court of law. So the government can't bust you for your First Amendment. You pay for it through whatever companies you work for. And then if you want to fight that in court, that's great. But there are consequences to the First Amendment. And they've talked about that. And I'm sure our forefathers meant the same thing. What's the old thing? You can yell crowded fire in a crowded theater. That doesn't mean you won't get in trouble. So anyway, okay, that was it. Oh, and another movie, because I came to my last page, is Contagion. Again, here's one I haven't seen before, but since I did this, I will be bringing that up. But Contagion came out in 2011. It became eerily relevant during the COVID-19 pandemic. The film follows the global spread of a deadly virus, the collapse of the healthcare systems, and the race to develop a vaccine. A chilling scene depicts panic buying and misinformation spreading rapidly, mirroring the real world chaos during the early days of the pandemic. So it also addresses the issues of government response, vaccine distribution, and the role of social media in spreading both information and fear, which we know it did. I'm listening but working, so I'm in chat. Love yuns all. Okay, so that's just some of the movies I brought up that I've thought. There are so many more movies out there, and I will tell you, hey, there's a cat. Hey, cat. There's so many more movies out there that have things that you can. Yeah, Running Man was definitely one of them, Virax. I didn't talk about Running Man, but game shows. Yeah, and I hate Stephen King does write some crazy books. Not a very good person, but he does write some great books. Now, the reason I wanted to get into talking about this, well, here, let's do this. It'll be kind of fun. I made a chart of movies that are very likely to happen. Contagion, that happened. COVID-19 style pandemic or endemic, whatever you want to call it. Children of Men. We just discussed that birth rates are lowering. Remember the movie? Oh, way back. Pause. Yeah, it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. That's a good movie. Idiocracy, we discussed that, the kind of stuff that's going on in the world today. A lot of it could fall right into the movie Idiocracy.
Hey, Roger.
Hey, Roger. Network is another one. That's the one where sensationalist media telling you, and yes, Roger, I'm getting ready to mention that one. And Wall-E, we discussed that and how that related to today. And these are ones that are very likely to happen or have already happened. Somewhat likely, V for Vendetta. England's probably going to go through that first, which is good because that's where the movie took place. But V for Vendetta, where the authoritarian. Hold on. I talk so much.
Authoritarian
government. Authoritarian government rise after crisis. History shows crisis often empowers strong regimes. So if you've seen V for Vendetta, the government takes over everything. And I mean everything. I know a lot of people will say that's what's happening now. A lot of people say that's what happened under the last administration. We haven't seen this happen yet. And England's about ready to see it, I believe. Ex Machina. And I don't mean DA's old show. But and the Terminator. These are things that could happen. the rise of AI, the rise of robots. And I agree with that too, Roger. Walking Dead ain't about the zombies either. 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and 28 years later, same thing. That's more what it's about. Is like the 28 days was about the 28 days later. 28 days is about drug abuse, but 28 days later is about the rage virus that was created through monkeys. Anyway, The Purge. If you haven't seen The Purge, could it happen? It could. I mean, it's kind of a long shot that we have a day of legalized crime so that people get it out of their systems and don't kill every day. Would that work? Nah, I don't think so. Movies like The Matrix, Mad Max, those kind of movies, dystopian futures, those could truly happen if we ever get to that point. That's what's kind of scary, if we're fighting over water, if we're fighting over gasoline, it can happen. So, what other ones I got? Okay, so most of these we've already talked about. Now, Roger brought up, let me get these pieces of paper out of the way. Snake Eyes. And that's what got me into this, because I saw posts on the movie Snake Eyes. I saw Snake Eyes probably when it came out in 98. Yeah, agreed. Leanne, 100% I agree with you. That was a thinning out process. I believe it was a thinning out process of the elderly, the immune compromised, just like AIDS was to get rid of homosexuals. It was to get rid of druggies. They're not focusing on getting rid of normal people. They're focusing on getting rid of the fringe. And that's not a good thing. So, Mark, not bring negative, but it's coming in fast. I agree. Okay, so we'll talk about Snake Eyes. Well, we all know that last week on September 10th, a very good person who a lot of people, for some reason, want to contradict and say he was a bad person, but I think he just tried to get people to, think with common sense. And, not everybody's going to agree with each other. That's for sure. But he was assassinated. And the similarities somebody brought up the similarities between his assassination and the movie Snake Eyes. And in the movie Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage, there's a character in there named Charles Kirkland, or Charlie Kirkland, who was assassinated by a sniper, shot in the throat. Now, I'm also going to say that there's a lot that goes on with this whole Charlie Kirk thing, the assassination, that has got me still wondering what's actually happened with that, but we won't discuss that. It could be for another show, or let somebody else talk about that, because that's very controversial. But anyways, this gentleman, Charles Kirkland, was like a U.S. Senator, U.S. Secretary of Defense. He was shot in the throat by a sniper at a boxing match in front of a lot of people. And then the venue's locked down. There's chaos. There's conspiracies involved in it, just like with what happened with Charlie Kirk. The date of the boxing match is one that I've had to really research because they showed the poster or the billboard for the boxing match, and it's raining out when they show it, but it sure looks like the date on the billboard is September 10th. The billboard, will you go and bring up this emblem, this image right here? This is the billboard right here for the movie. So if you look at it, the gentleman that allegedly assassinated Charlie Kirk was named Tyler. Well, the boxer in the movie is called the Executioner Tyler. And if you'll see the date right there, it says September 10th, which was the day that Charlie Kirk was executed.
Assassinated.
Either or. Assassinated. Yeah. So that's all pretty crazy. Okay, and then in Snake Eyes, a detective character uncovers a plot involving government officials, conspiracies, people who help orchestrate the assassination, plus betrayal. And a lot of people think that's what's also going on with this whole Charlie Kirk assassination. Um, and then again, the rest of it becomes um, conspiracy theory stuff, as far as how many people were involved, which way from the bullet, whatever. But that's what kind of got me looking into the movie thing. Is this happened? This movie Snake Eyes was in 1998, but it's so eerily similar with this, with what happened to Charlie Kirk. And is do they do this? Do the global elites do this to us as like a, kind of a, we're going to kind of give you, you're not going to think it's real,
Like a
like a
foreshadowing.
foreshadowing type thing. If you're into deep dives into rabbit holes, then like me, you're going to say this could 100% be them foreshadowing stuff that's going to happen from all of these movies here, foreshadowing the AI, the rise of AI. Is it supposed to happen? That's the stuff we don't know. And yes, again, I don't want to get too political in this, but yes, Gene, Candace Owens is bringing up a lot of, really interesting points. Again, there is no better researcher than yourselves. Okay. Look at as many of the, if you really want to look into that, and if you can handle the assassination, look into everything. Yes. Look into everything. Go watch as many videos as you can and come up with your own hypothesis, because we're never going to know the truth. So, so that's movies, and there's a lot more movies out there we can talk about. But also, I'm going to let Erica. Let me see if I can find it. Do you have it? Hold on, I'm still looking here. There's a TV show out there, and I'm sure a lot of us has watched it at least once or twice through the years. Okay, where'd that piece of paper go? I don't have it. Why don't I have it?
Let me see.
Anyway, so we'll talk about a TV show that popped up years ago that's been on I don't know how many years now. And it's a comedic TV show, I guess. It's a cartoon, and you all know it as The Simpsons. Now, I thought to myself, there is no way that a TV show like The Simpsons could predict anything. It's a cartoon, and cartoons are cartoons. So I started deep diving. Now, there is a lot of stuff that I proved wrong in their predictions, but there are a lot of stuff that I've proven that actually happened, that happened years ago on their show that they predicted. Again, I believe this is being thrown in our face, these kinds of things. This is foreshadowing to future events. Okay.
So the first one mentioned, I'm not sure where the list came from, but I'll read it off. The first one mentioned, and this is about Simpsons episodes, the predictions that came true. First one is Donald Trump's presidency in a year 2000 episode. Lisa says she inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. I don't think anybody in the year 2000 would have thought that Trump would become president. And then he was elected in 2016. Siegfried and Roy tiger attack in a 1993 episode. It featured a tiger mauling a magician. In 2003, Roy Horn was attacked by a white tiger on stage. Disney buys 20th Century Fox. A 1998 episode showed Fox as a division of Walt Disney Company. Disney bought Fox in 2019. So this is a far stretch between the episodes and when the activities happened. Lady Gaga's Super Bowl halftime show. A 2012 episode showed Gaga performing suspended by cables over an audience, nearly identical to her 2017 Super Bowl act. Now, that one to me,
I'd have to see that. I did see that episode of The Simpsons, so I don't know what kind of crowd she's over or
and I haven't seen that episode. I haven't seen any of these episodes. It's been so long since I've watched The Simpsons that I would not remember if they occurred. But that to me could have easily been
Oh, sure.
oh, that's awesome. Let's do that. So giving them the idea to act on that. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't really care. Okay. Smartwatches. In 1995, a character used a wristwatch as a phone decades before Apple Watches. That to me is a very long stretch.
I mean, there are other movies. I think wasn't it Maxwell Smart? Did he have a phone? Or I know he used his shoe, but I thought he used his watch as well.
And I can remember back in the day when they would have the watches with a calculator on them.
Oh, those are cool.
But, that was a far stretch back in 95 to think of it as using it like a phone. Autocorrect fails. A 1994 episode had a device correct a note into nonsense, foreshadowing autocorrect frustration, which that happens. But to me, a lot of times they're funny. I just, always try to read my work and make sure before I hit send.
I've told a lot of people that they can duck off. So autocorrect. Anyway, let's go with that.
Okay. Video chat shown again in 1995. Lisa's wedding episode. It was video chat years before FaceTime and Zoom. Back then, I know they had telephones that would do that. It might have been a little later, but 1995 wasn't, too far off from when, like a teleconferencing phone. If I don't know what it was exactly called. Farmville / mobile gaming. Oh my gosh. Forgot about that. A 1998 episode showed children addicted to a farming video game, eerily similar to Farmville and other mobile games.
Which we know those didn't come out until.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. Ebola outbreak.
Yes, Wendell. That's right.
A 1997 episode referenced a book titled Curious George and the Ebola virus. An outbreak hit in 2014. So that was from a 97 episode. In 1990, the Three-Eyed Fish episode showed a fish mutated by nuclear waste. In 2011, fishermen in Argentina caught a three-eyed fish near a power plant.
Now that one's kind of far-fetched because we know that things mutate near nuclear power plants. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
still cool though.
Higgs-boson equation.
Yeah, what's the Higgs-boson equation?
In 1998, Homer wrote a math equation on a board that closely resembles the mass of the Higgs boson, discovered in 2012. That's pretty wild, but to me that could work either way. Face recognition and security cameras, again with the technology. Early episodes showed concepts similar to today's surveillance and biometric tech. We're ending this now. World events section. The 9/11 reference back in 1997. The episode The City of New York versus Homer Simpson shows a magazine cover with the number 9 next to the Twin Towers, so looking like 9/11. Greece's economic collapse, a 2012 episode referenced Greece going bankrupt years before it actually defaulted. COVID-style pandemic and murder hornets. A 1993 episode called Marge in Chains showed a flu from Japan spreading and people panicking, plus an accidental release of killer bees.
Killer beans.
But it's just so scary to think about.
The bees or the beans?
Both.
Oh, yeah.
No, the bees way worse. Okay, Noble.
I don't know. Killer beans could be a couple different ways, by the way.
The last one. Nobel Prize winner. A 2010 episode predicted.
Bent. Holmstrom.
Nice. Would win the Nobel Prize in economics. He won it in 2016. That's pretty wild. So that was a 2010 episode.
So there's a lot of things that go on. This is a cartoon. And a lot of the things that happen are things that, either weren't around or maybe it was just a coincidence. I mean, what do you think about coincidences? We we have been noticing a lot lately with especially on this last trip, a lot of coincidences with things like, okay, here's a little one. So I said, when we go to LBL, I want to get a sticker for LBL. Looks trying to think of the shape of a national park sign.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to say Land Between the Lakes. So the first place we went was, what was the name of that? It had the bison farm, the elk and bison farm.
At the visitor center?
Yeah, that visitor center we went to. I can't remember the exact name of it. Anyway, so we went there, and as soon as I got out of the vehicle, I saw a piece of paper on the ground. I went over, picked it up. It was the exact sticker I wanted. We went in the gift shop there. They didn't have any of those stickers. None of those stickers were anywhere in that shop. I looked for it. So the fact that I found the exact sticker I wanted, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a coincidence? You can look at it that way, or is it something that was supposed to happen? I don't know. That's what I look at coincidence, because I think everything happens for a reason. And Jeff, watch out for those beans. Yeah. So when next time you watch a movie, just kind of think to yourself, especially if it's a sci-fi, could this happen, or is this happening? And if you watch a Disney movie, if you research the Disney movie you're going to watch as far as the conspiracy theory behind it, once you watch it, you'll be like, holy crap, that's crazy. And I know that because even the conspiracies behind Wizard of Oz, there's a lot of crazy stuff behind that as well. Are we living in a simulation? I don't know. It's just stuff that, as I question myself and question everything else, it's just stuff that really intrigues me, that we find so many similarities between things we see in the movies, things we see in life.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Yeah. I think we're going to wrap it up. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I want to watch that movie that Mac was talking about.
Yeah, me too. I'll have to see if I can find that on YouTube. But, what do you guys think? I know there's been some stuff in here in the chat and everything, but do you think that everything happens for a reason? Do you think that we're living in a simulation? Do you believe in the Matrix? Do you believe in, I believe everything's supposed to happen. Everything that's happening is happening for a reason. Whatever direction it's headed, whether it's good or bad, a lot of us think that it's bad. Some of us think it's good. So what do we got here? The biggest thing Disney did was put children's movies over X-rated movies, and the dirty movie bled through the cartoon. Yeah, I haven't seen that. I've heard that before. And that would be absolutely horrible. But the more I go into the Disney rabbit hole, the more I don't want to go into the Disney rabbit hole. The amount of children that have come up missing in Disney parks, that could probably be a whole show in itself. Mm-hmm. But then you start messing with the global elite and their little thing. But anyway,
yeah.
I told her at the end of every show we were going to just start having casual chats with everybody, but I think we've kind of done that through the show.
Yeah, it's been a fun episode.
We're going to try to make our shows serious, but still have conversations, and we want everybody to have fun with it. I thought this one was more of a more fun compared to the rest of them we've done. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of where we want to go. That way everybody can enjoy themselves and
laugh.
We're
not serious all the time.
Ooh, no. I'm only serious when this computer comes on. Other than that, I'm a wackadoo.
Yes. Making me cry, laugh all the time.
Yeah, there's nothing like making her laugh, and then she starts crying as you're going into a business because you made her laugh too hard. And then you have to explain to people as you're walking, she's laughing. This is, make me a sandwich.
Stop.
No, we just,
no,
that kind of stuff. Make her laugh.
We're serious. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that.
So I'm right here by Disney World and don't have a desire to go. Well, first of all, it takes maybe a paycheck, a 10 years worth of paychecks just to go. You have to pay for everything and anything. And then they tell you, like, I always wanted to go. Like in the beginning, I said I'm a Star Wars fan. I always wanted to go to the Star Wars thing there. And then I saw the prices for it. And I was like, I bought tons of Star Wars stuff that I have here. I have most of it still here.
There are so many other places I'd rather be.
Absolutely. I mean, I would rather take all the money from that trip to a Star Wars place in Disney and get everybody together for a big meet and greet and hang out that way, because that would be much more enjoyable than wasting all my money at a Star Wars thing.
I want to hit this comment right here because I think it's interesting.
Smack it.
Flip it upside down. Okay, so Jean said, I believe we have a roadmap that we travel in life, and the road we take decides who we become and what we experience.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And everyone you meet is part of that roadmap.
And then also, Pine Knot. Well, we have, I believe, the only thing that is certain in life, your birth and death,
Yeah.
Gene. And then Pine Knot, or is the whole thing God telling you things and warning you before it happens? We could talk a long time about this. So, I think that there are so many things that people are like, I wish God would have warned me.
Yeah. And maybe he's putting those warnings out to you. You just don't know. It might be something that happened when you're, 18 years old, and then something happens. I wish God would have told me, and he did at 18. You just didn't remember that. It's, again, everything happens for a reason. I really look at that now. When things happen, what was the reason behind that? Do you think? We talk about that quite a bit. So,
Jean says yes. And then, I don't know. Like, I personally have never had my palms read, and that I'm not saying I never would, but that to me is like, I'm kind of afraid to know what, and they're not going to tell you this happens, da 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 da, but it would. I don't want to know too much, about my future, I guess, if you want to say that.
We don't know if that's really our future, but it's something that gets in your head.
Yeah, and like, I don't want something to kind of spell it out for me and me try to connect those pieces. I don't want it to be anything like that. So that's why I have my palms read.
Well, there you go. Gary's there.
Okay.
Here's a good example. Just like my last trip, blew a tire, kept me from being right in the middle of a fatality wreck.
Wow.
I agree. I think everybody has had something similar happen. Maybe that to that extreme, but something's happened that kept you from being in a certain place, or you got a feeling. I know Misty, I'll tell a good one if I can. Misty, you're here, was the first, was it the first one we went to?
It was meet and greet last October. The first one.
The first meet and greet we went to, Misty had a feeling that something bad was going to happen and she didn't want to go.
She said she had a feeling for, I believe, weeks.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't shake it.
Right.
And then, but multiple bad things happened to people who went or were going to go to the meet and greet. And I mean, people were sent to the hospital. Our vehicle broke down unexpectedly, and it was a scary situation. Also, Misty had, I think she was with JR and maybe Greg in 2 different vehicles. Somebody was hauling a trailer.
It was at Talladega, yeah.
About lost it. So that was scary for them. And then Gary had an incident then medically.
And then he had, he talks about angels, he had Kumbo.
Yeah.
Kumbo and his wife did something that.
Well, Kumbo was,
wow. Yeah. That still, they drove that, Gary, that whole incident. I have so much respect for Kumbo. It's not even, that is I know there's a lot of people who would do it, but he stepped up right then and did it. And that's amazing.
Yeah. Kumbo and his wife followed or drove Gary back from Alabama to Oklahoma. And they experienced, vehicle issues too on that trip. And it's just crazy, all the things that happened. But
yeah, so, every time I always say, everything happens for a reason. And if we decide we're not going somewhere, then if I get a feeling, I'll say there's a reason I got that feeling,
Oh, yeah.
that I don't want to go.
I had a feeling about 2 months ago, and we were going to go somewhere. I was really excited to go. And
Oh, this is our trip when we went to Cookville and we turned around.
yeah,
Yep.
and we ended up turning around, and it just like I did not want to, but these things were happening on the road, and it was also in my head because it was a full moon, and we were going to a full moon party. And I always think about the bad things I hear with full moons, and people were pulling out in front of us on the road on highways, and it was just like it wasn't normal. And then I had that feeling, and so I'm like, I got to a point. I'm like, we got to go back. I can't go any further. So, Standing Stone, we're in Tennessee.
Yeah, we're in Tennessee.
Misty said that's a very interesting. Misty said darkness knows what's happening before we do. And I believe tried to keep all of us apart. That's a very interesting thought. And I would not disagree with that. That's very interesting to put it that way.
Mark Green's talked about it, and not so many words, but that we're kind of in dark times right now. There's a lot of dark things going on. And, even I myself, a man of faith, not a man of, I guess the way I talk about this is we don't go to church. We believe in God. We have Bibles, probably should read them. But, there's a reason we don't go to church. Maybe someday we'll discuss that. But simply because we see what's good and what's evil going on right now. And it's all happening. And, her and I talk about that. And yes, Mark is a prayer warrior. Mark is an amazing person.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my favorite people ever are in this chat and other chats that we go into. But our chat right here, I see a lot of people that I look up to as incredible people, or look down on because they're shorter than I am. Anyway, there's so much going on, and we could all, is the word dwell on the evil. But the fact that we have these groups of people that we have in chats that we meet at meet and greets, and some neighbors, like our neighbors over here, they're all great people, and they keep you positive, and they help keep you positive. I said something on, I know we're way off subject. This is the ending of our show. It's that Southern goodbye thing.
Well, this is the chat part.
But one of the things I talked about on Mark's show is we are told to forgive and forget in a lot of instances. And I believe that to a point, but I think there's sometimes that you have to stand up for yourself. And sometimes, and I think it's even in the Bible, sometimes violence begets violence. That to solve a problem, you have to solve a problem. If you understand what I'm saying, I don't want to talk, so I kind of feel like this big group, everybody is going to protect each other. It doesn't have to be through violence. But I always told her, and it was great, is when we had that on Mark's show with David said, I said, I felt I was put here as a protector, as a person that was supposed to protect other people. I say that because when I was younger, when I up to a certain age, I never wanted to get into a fight. I just thought somebody's going to hurt me and I don't want to get hurt. And then I got in my first fight and I realized that I felt it was a fight protecting somebody. And I felt like that's what I was supposed to do. So I then went out, and my friends that I hung out with at that time, some of them kind of had mouths on them and you knew they were going to probably get in a fight. So I would either try to break the fight up or take it away, or maybe stick up for them in a certain way. Well, that's how I feel now. I feel like I'm going to protect each and every one of my friends, which is the best way I can. Obviously, we're long distance and I can't be everywhere. And I think that God is going to protect you where I can't or other people can't. And that's why I love this group. My job is to protect this lady, those neighbors, my kids, but they live states away. But, and Jeff, is Jeff the one that said that? I'm not that short. Probably. But,
Gary said he's shorter than everybody.
And right. Yes, Gary, we all try to take care of each other. And again, that's when Kumbo and his wife, Sandy, took you, states away to your house, to the hospital. That's the kind of people I love. And I feel this group of people is that's where we're at. We were, everything happens for a reason. We went to a meet and greet or a convention or whatever you want to call it. We met Greg and Roger. From Greg and Roger, we met all of you awesome people, and you have become family. And, we are so grateful for you guys. We try to follow as many shows as we can. I try to get in as many chats as I can. But there's so many darn shows now. It's hard to get into everybody's show or get to see everybody's show. But, it's all family now. Any chance we get to go to see somebody, we try to, if we have the time, to go see them, hang out with them. That's why we love the big ones or even the middle ones. Like the last one at Hollins was great, but we get to see people we never get to see. And that's we get to have dinner with them and everything. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
So these groups that we have, these podcasts, they're here for a reason. They're, we found each other for a reason, whatever it may be. We keep adding new people, and every person we add brings something new to this, and, I don't know what brought me here to you guys. I'm sorry. The oddities in my head, maybe, I don't know, but, it's, I love being here, and I hope you guys love being here. We wanted to do this show. Again, I've talked about it. We do this show for you guys, for me to get a lot of my feelings out about what's going on in the world or some of the crazy stuff I read about, for her to talk about the things I thought her episode on the autumn equinox was incredible. I loved it. I'm hoping that next week she has one on something, but we'll see. We'll have one no matter what. But
I might do that because I'm actually off next weekend.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'll have more energy. I think I'll do one that I would be passionate about.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for being here tonight. I hope, maybe next time you watch a movie, kind of pay a little more attention and just kind of see what you see. To me, movies are a great away from reality sometimes, whether it's a cartoon, whether it's a comedy, whether it's a action movie, whatever. It's a way to step out of your bubble and kind of see things. I love action movies. I was watching Nobody the other day, which I love. So these action movies are so far-fetched. A guy gets shot at 100 times and never gets hit, or he gets hit and he's, it just wounded me, I'm okay. And well, that guy just hit you with a 5.56 round. That's probably half your arm's gone, but okay. But it's fun watching those kinds of things, because again, it steps you out of reality, but it also gives you a false sense when you go into the real world. Just remember, bullets hurt. Don't get shot. Be nice. So again, we're going to thank everybody for being here. We could chat a little longer, but we haven't eaten dinner.
Yeah.
And she's already gotten one black eye. She doesn't need another.
Stop it.
There's a joke behind that.
There's a joke behind that. I'll be trying to get ready for work in the morning. So I have training this week too. I'll be traveling for that. So I got to get rested. We love you guys, and this really is a fun time for us. We're going to wrap it up now. We will see you next Sunday.
Absolutely.
So we'll have an episode then.
What happened?
And
you brought this.
Hold on.
We're not on screen right now, so I'm like, are you looking for the date?
Yeah.
I have a phone here.
It'll be October 5th. So next Sunday, October 5th. And we'll come up, between now and then, our topic. And thank you for everybody being here. Please hit the like button. Thank you to our moderators. And I think we have a great time. So we hope that you do too.
I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got a lot more comfortable since the first show. this is fun for us to do.
Yeah.
We just want to bring little things to look at,
And we want a place for all of you to,
Yeah.
you know, join and chat. And we hope it's fun for you too.
Yep. And I want to say before we go, and this isn't going to start the Southern Goodbye, please check out all the other shows. Most of us do.
Oh yeah.
You know, Woodwalkers,
Mm-hmm.
Roger, Squatch and Holler on the Untold Radio Network. Mark and Becca,
Blues Doctor recommends.
Blues Doctor recommends. There's so many shows. Cryptid
Cedar
Podcast,
Creek
Cedar Creek
Farmstead.
Farmstead, Cryptid Podcast with Daniel. There's so many. Cryptid Huntress, Jessica. Yep. She does so many shows, and some of them I love. They're kind of outrageous, like really out there, and that kind of stuff I love. But anyway, check them out. It's, you know, we usually see the same people in chat, so that's kind of, you know, and we meet new people in the chats over there.
Yep. So thank you for being here, and we hope to see you next Sunday. Have a great week.
Peace out. Love y'all.
Love you too. I mean, love you guys. Good night.
Good night.